Good evening everybody and welcome to the first installment of the Hero Showcase featuring one of the most played classes in the game, the Wizard. The Wizard is a highly mobile range caster class that deals extremely high spike damage with a good amount of CC, good amount of mobility, with the trade-off that they are extremely squishy. They feature some of the longest range in the game with their fireballs, and the massive mobility provided by Blink will keep any melee class at range. In addition, they have a large amount of CC through Ice Ball, Blizzard, and Entangle, as well as some of the highest burst damage in the game by comboing Bolt with Fireball and Ice Ball. This, combined with the fact that all of the Wizard skills completely ignore armor, and they have extreme utility through group teleport and port, make the Wizard an extremely powerful asset to any group in any situation. First skill, level 1, you get Fireball. Now Fireball is what you would call Wizard's bread and butter skill. It's got long range, it's got good damage, it's got a short cooldown, and it's good in pretty much any situation that a Wizard will find themselves in. If you can land these fireballs consistently, you're gonna walk all over your enemies. If you miss them consistently, well, you're pretty much gonna suck. It's got a crazy fast projectile speed, which can be discerning if you're used to playing Ranger or Ninja and shooting a lot of arrows. But once you get used to the fact that the skill has pretty much no projectile drop at all, you can snipe from about 30 to 40 blocks with these damn things. Combine this with the fact that these things do about 150 damage a shot with about an 8-second cooldown, and you can do some pretty insane damage with these things if you can land them. Key thing to point out is if you land them. Landing fireballs is probably the most essential skill for any wizard. If you can't land your fireballs, you are not going to be a good wizard. You'll miss out on hundreds of damage. I cannot stress this enough. 150 damage every 8 seconds is something you do not want to pass up on if you can't hit your targets. So go on the test server, throw some fireballs at your friends, and learn how to shoot. A helpful little tip for those of you leveling wizard: if a mob is on fire from the sun, or they catch fire during your fireball's fire ticks, just let them burn out. You'll actually get full XP for it even though the sun deals the killing blow. Just watch this zombie here. When it dies, watch the XP bar and you'll see I'll get about 20 XP for it. At level 5 you get replenished and there's not much to say about this skill. Press the button, receive mana, 2-minute cooldown. At level 10 you will receive the Wizard's second projectile skill. This is Ice Bolt. It functions almost exactly identical to Fireball, except it's ice, it does less damage, and it slows your target. Now the damage and the range of the skill is only about half the Fireball, but what really makes Ice Bolt shine is the fact that it's got about a 50% slow tacked onto it. It may not seem like much, but the fact that you can slow someone for 4 seconds on a 6-second cooldown means if you're good with it, you can keep someone slowed to half their movement speed for almost the entire fight. Notice though, the projectile in Ice Bolt behaves differently from Firebolt, so adjust your shots accordingly. At level 15 you get the leveler's best friend. This is Pulse. It's a short cooldown, short range, but good damage, AoE little pop thing. Fun fact, since the skill is AoE and it has no projectile, you can actually shoot it through walls to snipe people that think they're safe in their houses. At level 20 you'll get the Wizard's first true CC ability. This is Entangle, and it functions pretty much identical to Roots from other games. It completely immobilizes the enemy, but it breaks on damage. Entangle makes a very distinct snapping sound, which usually heralds the arrival of the Wizard's level 30 skill, Bolt. A skill that is so feared that there's even a death message devoted entirely to it. Now Bolt does a shit ton of damage, but is gated by its hefty 2-second warm-up, which is why it is usually paired with Entangle. Depending on intellect, Bolt will usually do around 200 damage, and since it's a targeted skill, not a skill shot, an enemy can't dodge it. Meaning that when someone hears the distinctive snap of Entangle, they have one of 3 options. Sit there and tank a 200 damage nuke, which nobody wants to do, get out of range, which you can't do when you're entangled, or silence the wizard, which you also can't really do when you're entangled. Now like all targeted skills with a warm-up, the best way to avoid the damage of Bolt is to get out of its range before the cast goes off. This is especially problematic with a skill like Bolt with a nasty 2-second warm-up, which is why Bolt is usually paired with Entangle. However, you want to watch out for rangers with punch bows. They can easily knock you away and out of range of your Bolt, so be ready on your Fireball trigger. At level 35 you'll get one of the most visually beautiful skills, but one of the stranger skills in the Wizard arsenal. This is Fire Blast. Now Fire Blast is a bit of an odd bird. It's got a short range, which is strange for a long range caster. It looks like it's AoE, but it's actually not. And it says it knocks enemies away, but it only knocks them away about 1 block. In addition, the skill is extremely buggy. Sometimes the animation won't go off and you don't even know that the skill goes off. Sometimes the skill won't even go off when you press the button, but it'll still go on cooldown and it'll still cost mana. And sometimes the skill will go off, the animation will play, it'll hit your enemy, but it won't actually do anything. However, at level 45 you get another truly great skill. This is Mega Bolt. It's a lot like Bolt, except it does a little bit less damage, and it's AoE. Now just because the skill behaves like Bolt and it looks like Bolt doesn't mean that it is Bolt. The damage of the skill is actually comparable to Fireball, and has a significantly longer cooldown, and it's got that nasty warm-up, similar to Bolt. But at level 55 you'll get a skill that makes Bolt look like throwing a dust bunny at your enemies. This is Arcane Blast, the single highest damage skill in the game, but it's gated by a nasty 4-second warm-up. On paper, this skill looks like great. It does a tremendous armor ignoring damage at a pretty damn long range. However, when you realize that it's got a 4-second warm-up that's longer than Entangle's duration, it means you're not going to land this skill that often. However, if you do manage to land an Arcane Blast, your enemy can kiss goodbye a good third of their health, and you'll be rewarded with a giant blue firework explosion that announces to everybody that you're a bad motherfucker not to be trifled with. But in all seriousness, don't cast this skill. The warm-up is just too damn long for the damage that it deals, and unless you're in a group fight and no one's focusing you, you really shouldn't even have your finger on the button to cast it. However, if you are dead set on becoming a bad motherfucker and you just really want to land an Arcane Blast, try at least to get an entangle or be really up close to your enemy before you start to cast the skill. But in all seriousness, don't cast this skill. And watch out for paladins holding a shield. That'll fucking kill you. The last skill that a wizard will learn at 65 is Blizzard. Blizzard fulfills the role of AoE area denial. After a short warm-up, it creates a cloud that'll drop buckets of ice balls down anything below it. They do mediocre damage, but they do have the same 50% slow as regular ice ball. And while it does drop tons of ice balls from the sky, the pattern of them is completely unpredictable, meaning that an enemy could actually stand in Blizzard for the entire duration and never get hit by a single one. The good news is the skill has enough potential to do damage that most people won't walk into a Blizzard, but you can easily lock down a small corridor or at least a small section of the battlefield for a short while. The skill will really shine if you can sneak into someone's house because the Blizzard will probably encompass their entire house, meaning no matter where they are, they're gonna get pelted by ice balls. The last two skills to talk about you learn at 40 and 60 respectively. These are Blink and Ender Pearl, and these are what make the wizard so mobile. There's not much to say about Ender Pearl, it functions exactly identical to the vanilla ones, however it's got a 60-second cooldown to heave one in combat. They've got crazy range, meaning you can escape from almost any situation if you throw them correctly though. Blink on the other hand could get an entire video devoted entirely just to what it can do. A 14-block teleport on a 15-second cooldown is nothing to scoff at. Big scary Dread Knight smacking you with his master's axe? Just blink away from him. Need to catch that pesky necromancer running away from you? Just blink. Need to get on top of a tree to run away from someone? Just blink. Need to help building your buildings? Just blink. But remember, carry a few stacks of redstone, because it takes 3 every time you cast it. Now how do you go about actually playing wizard? The playstyle is pretty standard to the other caster classes in that you're just gonna mostly run around until your cooldowns come back up, while juggling your mana costs. The difference between wizard and the other casters though is it has an extreme reliance on fireball and ice ball. You could land every bolt in the game, dodge all their attacks with blink, but if you can't land your ice balls and fireballs, you're going to struggle against other classes. In addition, the semi-clunky targeting mechanics of the game, coupled with the standard block lag with every other Minecraft server, mean you're gonna have to spam your skills a little bit if you want to land those entangles and bolts. But this applies to every class, not just the wizard. So in the end, if you're looking for a range class that's got a lot of damage and a lot of mobility, or you just like throwing fireballs at people, or if you like the idea of shooting thunder from the sky, or teleporting around the battlefield, or summoning your entire party to you from 10,000 blocks away, or just porting to pretty much any major location on the map, pick the wizard. They've got everything you could ever ask for. Hope you enjoyed the first Hero Spotlight. Make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons if you enjoyed the video. And this is Arl, signing off.